Hello there, so today Heavy Gunner is back on the menu but with a slight change, so let's see how effective it is and if you should actually consider it. So Power Armor and Heavy Gunner sort of go hand in hand. Generally that's how you'll see heavy guns or heavy weapons being used, and you also have cards like Stabilized which, reinforce that idea. And for builds, your armor piercing perk cards are generally very important. So what about the non-power armor route while still using heavy guns? Is it viable? Is it not viable? Does it really hurt not having stuff like Stabilized? Or is it actually still good and usable? So for today we have our trusty 50 cal, an anti-armor roll here, explosive bullets, and yes, I'm running Bloodied because, well, that's the one thing power armor doesn't have, and that's Unyielding. That is the main sort of enticing factor for people to run heavy weapons out of power armor because of Unyielding armor, massive stat boost, works with a bunch of cards. Love it or hate it, Bloodied is top tier, don't even need a Bloodied weapon to benefit from it. So the build we have, some of the heavy gunner perks, general damage stuff like Tenderizer and Adrenaline, Bloody Mess, Demo Expert because of our explosive bullets, and that, of course, that one thing missing is Stabilized. So over to some testing, it's still really good. I will be chucking in a comparison to this build and weapon with power armor instead later on, the one change of course being Stabilized being added, but right now out of power armor, Behemoths, no issue getting the kill pretty quick. Level 100 super mutants also posing no issues for us, and that's honestly where most of your time is going to be spent anyway, and that's just your regular enemies, not necessarily super mutants, but just regular enemies. You're not constantly fighting, boss after boss. It's just regular mobs most of the time, which, a lot are weaker than super mutants. So especially here, you really don't notice a massive difference between the power armor and the non-power armor without Stabilized. Of course, with Stabilized, it's slightly better, but not by a massive margin. And then, of course, without power armor, you're benefiting massively in other ways because of Unyielding. So your XP is boosted massively, your stats are boosted, survivability is also really good because you have other cards like Serendipity that you can use, or as I like to call it, Serendipity. Now, another route you can take is if you like using VATs, then of course you can opt for something like the Plasma Caster instead. Slap on some of those critical cards over in luck, and because of Unyielding and our nice stat boost that we're getting, the Plasma Caster will be working really, really nicely in that setup. So something to keep in mind, but regardless, we're getting through these super mutants super easy without 50 cal. But robots as well, easily getting through them, and Deathclaws, another larger enemy type, also being dealt with. Now this is just a 50 cal, but you can also opt for stronger heavy guns. A Plasma Caster or a Gatling Plasma, even a Gatling gun hits really, really hard as well. I don't use my Shredder here because the AP drain is way bigger compared to when I'm in my power armor, so that's something to keep in mind for Shredder builds out there, otherwise I totally would. But yeah, most heavy guns you're going to be having an awesome time with outside of your power armor, if you're running like your Unyielding strat here, basically. Hopping into power armor and chucking on Stabilized while keeping the rest of the build the same. We are doing it a little bit better. Again, Stabilized is a good card to use, so we are using fewer bullets on your bigger targets, but not a massive amount of difference on your regular enemies. Also slightly less, but again, much harder to notice here, and especially with something like the 50 cal. If you just focus headshots, then you'll be getting through enemies no problem, even quicker, both in and outside of power armor. But let me know if you run heavy weapons outside of your power armor. Are you doing it for the Unyielding or just because you hate power armor? And what weapon are you running? But hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, then hey, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stick around for more Fallout content. As always, massive thank you to the channel members for their support. But for now, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.